We wanted to get a prosecutor's perspective here. Ryan Stevenson is the Deputy Executive Coordinator at the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council, an organization that helps support and train district attorneys' offices across the state. Thanks so much for being here, Ryan. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I just wanted to give you a chance right away. I wanted to ask you something that the advocates brought up there. They said, that this is not a stand your ground law. It's not a self-defense law. And they believe that in the courtroom, this law is being misunderstood. And that's why we're not seeing more women being released from jail. Do you believe that is the case? Is there a misunderstanding inside the courtroom?
So to answer that, you kind of have to separate the purpose of the law with the language of the law.
All right.
Purpose of the law absolutely set out as they have put forth. It was seeking to take individuals who have been the victims of abuse, who have acted because of that abuse, and have committed crimes because of that abuse, to give them a break, if you will.
Some relief. They did it because of the abuse. All right, so you said that's the intent.
That's the intent behind it. The language required two things. Every single case has to show that the individual is a victim of abuse, and number two, that abuse was a significant contributing factor. All of those areas of law, whether that's self-defense, battered women's syndrome, anything like that, those all have statutes or case law that go with them, hand in hand. You have jury instructions that go with them for cases that go to trial. But each one of them is different. Likewise, this is an entirely different area of law, an entirely new area of law. So judges only have what's written in the statute. Judges are having to make that determination. Is what has been presented to me, was that a significant contributing factor to the crime that occurred?
And I can imagine, and we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to come back with you because I want to get more into this, because I can see how some people might say, well, it's a bit vague or it's subjective and it's up to interpretation. So we have more coming up right after this. Ryan Stevenson with the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council continuing with us here on Oklahoma Chronicle. Stay with us. And we're back here. Ryan Stevenson from the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council. Thanks for being here. We're talking about the Survivors Act in Oklahoma. We were just talking about the language in the law that the domestic abuse, that this person who committed the crime, that the domestic abuse had to be a significant contributing factor. And so I guess my question right away is, how do we determine that? How does a prosecutor determine if something is a significant factor?
Well, so right now, with the way that it's working in courts, that determination is left up to the judge. In fact, that's what these hearings are for. When they proceed to a hearing, there is evidence brought by both sides, similar to any court proceeding. Some of the ones that have been the more high-profile ones are situations where the defense says, yes, this was a significant contributing factor, and the prosecutors are saying, no, it wasn't, or no, we don't believe that it was.
Generally speaking, in these cases, do district attorneys' offices take an opposing view? Because I know in the case of Lisa Wright, whose story we just saw, the prosecutor really did not get in the way of that one.
Well, you have to understand, from the get-go, we are looking at mitigating evidence every step of the way when we get a case. We get mitigating evidence when charges come in. And in fact, many times they affect how we proceed with our charging.
What do you mean by mitigating evidence?
So situations like this, if an individual is the victim of domestic abuse, for as long as I have been in this system, for 15 plus years now, prosecutors are on the side of domestic abuse victims. I mean, it's what we pursue at the Capitol every year, or we request legislation for it every year.
You're prosecuting abusers is what you're doing.
We are prosecuting abusers. We're trying to stand up for domestic violence victims, and we understand it when that situation arises, when someone strikes out against someone who has hurt them. Honestly, whether that's a domestic abuse situation or not, even if you're looking at the local bar fight, we are taking what's occurring into consideration when we decide what charge is most appropriate. That goes every step of the way into a criminal case, from charging through your initial hearings to if a plea gets entered or what proceeds to trial.
But we have these advocates now saying, despite what you're saying, these prosecutors are standing in the way of a new law that people should be receiving these sentences, and over again, they're being turned away at the door.
Well, so exactly, just like you just talked about in the case that we just saw,
Lisa Wright's case,
Lisa
right.
Wright's case, where you really did see the prosecutor stand to the side. That's his discretionary call that he made.
Right.
He made that call that this is an appropriate case for this to proceed on. In other ones, you're seeing prosecutors who do not believe that is the case. There's also the added factor of how this, you talked about standing in the way of this law. The law itself, there were concerns raised with the legislature itself, or with the legislation itself
When
as
it was
moving
through.
Yes, exactly.
Like what? Like what was from prosecutors?
Yes. Well, and one of the biggest things that we were trying to point out is this is a very finesse situation. Comparing one of these to the other and looking at what goes in, you're looking at minute details.
Right, it's complicated.
Kind of the approach that was taken with the Survivors Act was more of a sledgehammer approach. And what I mean by that is the potential ramifications that have occurred. For instance, everyone knows both men and women can be victims of domestic abuse.
Sure.
But overwhelmingly, women are the victims of domestic abuse.
Right.
We've been keeping, to the best of our abilities, we've been keeping track of the survivorship applications that have come in.
Okay.
Almost 2/3 of those are men that are applying.
That are applying for relief here.
That are getting their shoe in the door. Of those, I want to say it's something close to 1/4 of those are cases like robbery. But when you look at how that statute was written, when you look at opening up to financial exploitation, you see situations where men are saying, hey, I was abused financially, and because of that abuse, I've had to go out and commit this robbery.
That was a significant contributing factor.
Right.
Their lawyers can create some sort of language and call back to language. So I see where your point is, and I'm curious then for people who are watching this right now who just want to see fair justice applied here, right? What is your message to our viewers who are saying that that's all we want? This is obviously still new. It's just a year and a half in. Are you asking for patience on this, to withhold judgment on this case or on these cases until we get more potential cases forward, or what would you like to see?
Well, to start with, I would like to see movement, if there is any legislation movement that needs to happen on these. Everyone needs to be at that table because. For example, the example I just brought to you, that's an absurd example. And frankly, we're not going to have to spend a lot of time on it, but we do have to spend some time on it. And every second that a prosecutor is dealing with that nonsense is a second that they're not spending on a case that involves a real victim. So that would be my first thing. And fortunately, the vast majority of the legislators at the Oklahoma Capitol work great with us and work great with the parties who are involved in legislation.
Could you see additional legislation here to supplement what's already been passed?
I think there are situations where it could be helpful to close some of these loopholes that are opening up. Yes.
Are conversations happening right now that would perhaps lead to that?
If there are, I haven't been invited to any of them. I would certainly be a part of them if I was.
Okay, gotcha. So it is obviously a challenging issue because there's a lot of discretion. So every county here could end up being different because it's not like everybody's coming through the same courtroom.
Exactly.
These are different prosecutors, these are different judges, and so we might expect different results?
Positively, yes. Every judge that you have in a different county has a different outlook. And that can be looked at negatively, but it can also be looked at positively. A judge up in Northeast Oklahoma deals with matters that occur in Northeast Oklahoma. It's not going to be the exact same as how matters are dealt with in Southwest Oklahoma. Okay. So to some extent, you do want that variety there.
Ryan Stevenson with the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council. He's the Deputy Executive Coordinator, which means he's number two with that organization. Ryan, we appreciate the time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And previously on Oklahoma Chronicle, just wanted to point out that we've done a lot of coverage already on this program when it comes to domestic violence. We had an exclusive report. We had a conversation into what's going wrong, where we can improve, as domestic violence continues to be a crisis in the state. In fact, we spoke to victims, loved ones, who knew the damage being done all too well. In fact, according to a report, let's put this up, from the Attorney General, domestic violence homicides, that they spiked in Oklahoma since 2019. 2023 is the most recent year for the statistics. That was also the highest year that we saw. You see it on your screen there, 122 victims.
This is, to me, a man's state. Men come first before women and children here.
It's just so commonplace. And every time you hear of a woman being shot, it's domestic violence.
And so you can find more of our Oklahoma Chronicle coverage on our KOCO website, as well as on our KOCO YouTube page.